You were here with By the Cover. Today we're going to be reviewing Alice by Christina Henry. This book was 293 pages and took me 5 days to read. I would say the genre for this one is grimdark fantasy. I would rate this book a 4.3 out of 10. This review will contain spoilers, so if you do not want to hear those, click off now. As far as my likes with the book, I thought it was an interesting concept. I really liked the idea of the antagonists. The walrus specifically I thought was really well done, but I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, the author failed in the execution of these ideas, and we'll get to why that is later in the review. I did like that Alice showed some growth in confidence throughout the book. I thought Alice taking out the caterpillar was great, and I did like how some of these ideas can parallel real life. As far as my dislikes of the book, there are quite a few. First of all, this book just was not a good time to read. It's like stepping into a trauma factory. Just a whole lot of bad things happening. The bleak atmosphere and the deep trauma just make it not fun to read at all. If I had to describe this book in one word, it would be disconnection, because the entire environment and situation is so uncomfortable to be in that I just felt detached from it the whole way through, so I couldn't fully immerse myself in the story. I did not like the primary two characters, the two protagonists, Alice and Hatch. Both of them were not all that deep, and they didn't feel real to me, so I couldn't connect with either of them. While I did like the idea of the antagonists, they didn't seem real either. They seemed like more very grotesque versions of Disney villains. The plot felt like it was all over the place, but nothing really interesting was happening. The environment I didn't find all that unique. It's basically every dystopian city future you've ever read with poverty running rampant. The only real unique thing in this is that mob bosses are running certain parts of the city, and different mob bosses run it different ways, which is kind of interesting. Overall, the plot was basically just two people wandering through this really crappy environment on their way to take out bad guys. There was a severe lack of tension in this book. Alice starts out the book a very timid mouse, stunted by trauma. She does grow a little bit, but from the beginning of the book, she always has a strong male lead right by her side who has sworn not to let anything happen to her and not to let anyone hurt her. And that's pretty much what happens throughout the book. Alice always has somebody to lean on when the going gets tough. This leads to a lack of tension because you know that no matter the situation, Hatch will be right there to solve it. And Hatch is the type of character that just charges into situations, there's no sneaking about, and he just takes care of business. The antagonists in this book were not challenging for the protagonists ever. It felt like two people were just going on a stroll to meet up with the bad guys, have very lengthy conversations with them, and then take them out. It never felt like the bad guys had the upper hand at any point, except for the initial trauma that was caused earlier in these people's lives. But as far as this journey goes, they didn't seem threatening at all. All the antagonists' deaths, except for the confrontation with the caterpillar, were extremely disappointing and not satisfying in the least, especially the last confrontation with the rabbit, which is the main bad guy in the story. It was all just very disappointing. So overall, there's just not a whole lot in this book that I enjoyed or liked. It was an okay read. I thought the pacing was decent. I thought some of the ideas were decent, but failed in execution. I will be continuing on to read The Red Queen, which is the next book in the series. Probably going to take a fairly lengthy break until I read that book, because if it's anything like this one in the bleakness, I'm going to need a little breather before I tackle that. So that's about it. We'll catch you later.